Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were down in the ninth Bolgia of the eighth circle. Pretty grim place.
Yeah, that was the sowers of discord, always being split apart.
Exactly. Split apart just like they tried to split society. A really brutal um, visual for fracturing unity.
It really was a powerful image of cause and effect, punishment fitting the earthly action.
Right. But, okay, now we're pushing deeper, still in the eighth circle, but we're moving to the 10th and final part, the 10th Bolgia.
Ah, so a shift in
A
focus.
definite shift. We're leaving behind those who caused, like, external splits
Hmm.
and moving to a different group entirely.
Yeah.
The falsifiers.
Interesting. So we're going from, say, societal breakdown
Hmm.
to something more internal, like corruption from within.
That's exactly it. And that's our mission for this deep dive, to see how Dante's look at these sinners, the falsifiers, might teach us something about our own, lives, our own journeys.
Finding those timeless human truths hidden in the allegory. What can these falsifiers show us about our modern world?
Okay, so let's get into it. Canto 29 opens, and Dante's still kind of preoccupied.
Uh-huh, with what?
He's thinking about his relative, Geri El Bello, back in the ninth Bolgia. He's upset, or a bit resentful even, that Geri's death hasn't been avenged. He's, like, distracted by this family thing.
Oh, right. That's such a human moment, isn't it? Even on this epic journey through hell, he's caught up in personal, earthly concerns, family honor, old wounds.
Totally. And Virgil, his guide, he notices. And he basically tells him, gently but firmly, hey, focus. You can't let this personal stuff distract you from the bigger picture here.
That's a powerful point. How often do we get stuck on, past arguments or personal issues and lose sight of where we're actually trying to go?
Yeah, it's a lesson in perspective, I think. Knowing when to let something go to keep moving forward.
Definitely. A challenge we all face, probably. So where do they go next?
They head into the 10th Bolgia, and the scene, well, it's pretty horrific. Dante actually compares it to a medieval hospital just overflowing with disease and suffering.
Ugh. So visual again. And these are the falsifiers. What kind of punishments are we talking about?
They're specific to the type of falsifying. Dante really links the sin and the suffering.
Okay, like how?
Well, you've got the falsifiers of metals, the alchemists. They're covered in leprosy and scabies, like their internal corruption is breaking out on their skin.
Wow, a very physical manifestation of their inner state. What about others?
Then there are the falsifiers of persons impersonators, maybe? They're afflicted with rabies, pure madness, uncontrolled.
Rabies. That's terrifying, that loss of self.
It is. And the falsifiers of coins, they're swollen up, bloated with dropsy. It's this unnatural swelling, kind of like how they unnaturally distorted the value of money.
Ah, I see the connection. The physical state reflecting the nature of their deceit. And there's one more group, right?
Yeah, the falsifiers of words. Liars, basically. They're consumed by a raging fever, like an internal fire mirroring the destructive heat of their lies.
It's incredibly systematic, isn't it? The punishment isn't random. It's a direct symbolic consequence, a kind of poetic justice made physical.
Absolutely. And Dante doesn't just observe, he talks to a couple of them. First, Griffolino of Arezzo.
Okay, an alchemist. What's his story?
Yeah, he tells Dante how he tripped this young nobleman, promised he could teach him to fly, which was obviously a lie, pure deception.
Right, classic alchemical scam almost. What happened?
Well, the nobleman's powerful father found out, and Griffolino ended up being burned at the stake. Not for the flying scam, interestingly, but for heresy, though he implies the scam led to it.
So his lie had these huge, unforeseen consequences, burned at the stake. That's severe.
It really shows how one act of dishonesty can spiral, doesn't it? The ripple effect. Integrity isn't just, like, a nice idea. It can shield you.
That's a chilling takeaway. Even a single deception can have devastating results down the line.
Then he meets another soul, Capocchio of Siena, also an alchemist, apparently.
And what's his deal? Still complaining.
Kind of the opposite, bizarrely. Even while suffering, he sort of boasts about his skills as a forger. He claims he was brilliant at imitation, even imitating nature itself.
Wow, boasting in hell, that takes a certain kind of, well, something. But it highlights the temptation, maybe. The allure of being that good at faking it.
Maybe. It makes you think, though, about how we value imitation sometimes, like creating convincing illusions. But his suffering shows how empty it is, ultimately.
Yeah, that pride in skillful imitation, but it leads to decay. It lacks real substance, real truth. It's inherently self-destructive in Dante's view.
Which really brings us back to that shift we talked about, moving from the sowers of discord, who broke things externally, to these guys, the falsifiers, who represent this deeper internal rot, like falsifying truth, identity, value. It's a
Yeah.
corruption within the self.
Exactly. It undermines trust, undermines reality itself in a way. It's maybe a more profound kind of moral sickness than even open conflict.
And, just as a side note, it's interesting how Dante throws in all these references to alchemy.
Yeah. What does that tell us?
Well, it shows he was really aware of the science and, well, maybe the pseudoscience of his day.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just locked into theology. He had this broad curiosity. Remember, the thinkers in limbo, same kind of thing.
Right. It paints a picture of him as a real intellectual of his time, engaging with all sorts of knowledge to make his points about morality and spirit.
Okay, so pulling back from the details, what are the big lessons here? What can we, take away for our own lives from this pretty unpleasant corner of hell?
Well, the most obvious one, I think, is the danger of falsity, the corruption of authenticity.
Yeah.
Fake news, social media personas, constant spin. Dante's warning about distorting truth feels incredibly current, doesn't it? The challenge of finding what's genuine.
It really does. And that disease imagery,
Yeah.
it's not just for shock value, is it? It's like saying dishonesty actually makes you sick inwardly. It corrodes your integrity.
Exactly. It's an internal harm. Falsity eats away at you, at your self-trust, at your relationships. It creates this internal friction.
In Griffolino's story, being burned at the stake, it's a harsh reminder that choices have consequences, right? Maybe not eternal damnation for us, but deception can still lead to really negative outcomes.
Definitely. Actions ripple outwards, sometimes in ways we completely didn't expect, especially dishonest actions.
And I keep thinking back to Virgil telling Dante to refocus,
Mm-hmm.
to let go of the Geri del Bello thing.
Yes, that's crucial too. Don't get so bogged down in personal stuff, grudges, whatever,
Yeah.
that you lose sight of your actual path, your goals.
It's about focus, about perspective, about not letting distractions derail your own, journey.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, seeing the suffering of the falsifiers, it implicitly calls us towards the opposite, doesn't it?
Towards authenticity.
Yeah, towards living with honesty, with integrity, even when it's tough, even when it seems like faking it might be easier or more rewarding in the short term.
Living in truth, basically, both inside yourself and with others.
That seems to be the underlying value Dante's championing here.
Okay, so wrapping up this 29th canto deep dive, we've seen the dangers of all kinds of falsity, the deep value of being authentic, the way our actions echo, and the real need to stay focused on our own journey.
So here's something for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on. Think about how different kinds of falsity might show up in your own life. Big ways, small ways, maybe in interactions, or even just the stories you tell yourself.
Right. And maybe think about one small step you could take towards, well, greater authenticity, towards more integrity on your own path.
Just a thought to carry with you.